about just imagine being here with me? Imagine the World Cup hasn't happened yet and I've come from the future to show you things. I'm here to say this guy, during the Morocco game, took a weak penalty straight to the keeper and then missed that one-on-one chance badly, getting really upset. He missed this double chance, and especially the second one really stands out against Paraguay. And with an open goal against Sweden, what did he do? He hit the post. You'd think Mbappe is jinxed, right? I was going to mention he was the World Cup's top scorer. He scored an amazing goal against Morocco and proved his penalty skills against Paraguay. And against Sweden, he pulled off this beautiful step over and scored another great goal. An athlete sees failure and deals with it in a completely different way than you do, than what you've been taught to do.
It doesn't exist. It's not existent. What the hell does that mean? Seriously, what does failure mean? It doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination.
Do we need to talk about this? And do you know what this kind of thing teaches us? The difference between the mindset of a high-performance athlete and regular people. And contrary to what many people think, you're not born with the talent to be a top-level athlete. No, you're born an ordinary person who does ordinary things in your daily life until you become a high-performance athlete. But these ordinary things are kind of secret to most people. Good. In this video, we're going to talk about how an ordinary person can have the unshakable mindset that top-level athletes have. Let's go, are you ready? For example, check out this news here, look. Historic record. Cristiano Ronaldo became the player who missed the most penalties in the history of soccer. In total, he missed 36 penalties throughout his career. His closest competitor, in other words second place, is Lionel Messi with 32 missed penalties, so you see that these two legends hold a bitter record. But at the same time, if we look at the list of the top 10 players who scored the most penalties in the history of soccer and go down the list, who are first and second? The player with the second most missed penalties in history also ranks second for most penalties scored. And the player who missed the most penalties in history is also the guy who scored the most goals from penalties in the history of soccer.
It doesn't exist. It's not existent. What the hell does that mean?
For those unfamiliar, Kobe Bryant is a basketball legend. I prefer to call him Kobe Bryant. He's not just speaking randomly for attention there, no. This is the same thing, a bunch of athletes who are either very close to becoming soccer legends or already are soccer legends say, with different words, with maybe another point of view, but they're saying the same thing. You know who has said something very similar to this?
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
Hey, so what's the deal? How does our brain learn things? It learns by being exposed to a certain experience. For example, there's a time you don't even remember at all. When you learn to walk. We all agree here that it was your brain that learned to walk, not you, you know? You don't remember that. When you were old enough to know what was going on, you were already walking. But your brain went through the whole process of stepping wrong, failing, losing balance, falling, storing that experience from that little awkward step that ended in a fall. And having stored that experience, it changed, understanding that it wasn't the answer it needed. And on the next step, you tried to step in a different way because of commands inside your brain. When you stepped that way, you fell the other way. The brain stored that behavior, learned another way not to step and tried a third different way. And it kept storing every time you stepped wrong. And you couldn't walk until finally, through a process of elimination, you stepped the right way and managed to take the second step. The same process repeated for the second step. You fell this way and that, then took the third and fourth steps until you learned to walk. You don't even remember that this happened, but your brain was exposed to this experience, stored it, changed itself, and that's it, you walked. In other words, we can interpret that this misstep was a failure because you tried to walk and you fell. Alright, you failed. But what's the problem with that? How big is this failure if in reality your brain stored an experience, changed itself, and you were only able to learn to walk because of these failures, you know? The athlete, he simply keeps this mindset, he forgets, he eliminates from his mind what society and culture consider to be a failure and focuses on the biology of the human body, understanding what the learning process is for anything. For you to learn to play soccer, for you to learn to play basketball, for you to learn to play volleyball. You will go through an endless repetition of technical movements, your brain will be exposed to that movement, and you'll keep making mistakes until you learn. It's the same in tennis, and there are tennis legends saying very similar things too.
In the 1,526 singles matches I played in my career, I won almost 80% of those matches. Now I have a question for you. What percentage of points do you think I won in those matches? Only 54%.
Bro, 54.
E 4%.
It's just a little over half. It's very little, bro. 54-50 is half, man. He lost as much as he won, and 54 is just a little over half. And this dude is a tennis legend.
In other words, even high-level tennis players win just over half of the points they play.
Thank you very much.
When you lose every second point on average, you learn not to dwell on every shot. You teach yourself to think, okay, I double faulted. It's only a point. Okay, I came to the net, then I got passed again. It's only a point. Even a great shot, an overhead backhand smash that ends up on ESPN's top 10 playlist. That too is just a point. So here's why I'm telling you this. When you're playing a point, it has to be the most important thing in the world, and it is. But when it's behind you, it's behind you. This mindset is really crucial because it frees you to fully commit to the next point and the next point after that.
And the next point is always the one that deserves your full commitment. And if 2% of your being is thinking about the point that just passed, you're giving 98% of yourself to the next point while someone else is giving 100%. And sports, they're honest with the athlete in a brutal way. The athlete he is, the sport makes it very clear to the athlete if he's giving his 100% or not. And that happens very rarely for those who aren't at the very top of their own field. So sometimes we see a huge clash, a huge cultural and mindset clash in how resilient these guys are and how they think. When a high-performance athlete comes face to face with the reasoning of someone whose brain isn't always being pushed to its maximum capacity to adapt and constantly surpass themselves, the clash becomes very obvious. Check out this reporter's question to a high-performance athlete. Look at how their conversation went. Do you view this season as a success?
My God. Okay, because I'm not that up. You asked me the same question last year, Eric. Okay, do you get a promotion every year on your job? No, right? So every year you work is a failure. Yes or no? No. No, every year you work towards something, towards a goal. The goal is to get a promotion, to be able to take care of your family, to be able, I don't know, provide a house for them or take care of your parents. You work towards a goal. It's not a failure. It's steps to success. Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years were a failure. Is that what you're telling me? I'm asking you a question.
Yeah, whoa, harsh.
No. Okay, exactly. So why are you asking me a question? It's a wrong question. There's no failure in sports. There are good days and bad days. Sometimes you're successful, sometimes not. Sometimes it's your turn, sometimes it's not. That's what sports are about. You can't always win.
These are steps to success. Funny, right? Because it's bizarre how well the analogy fits here, realizing that the process our brain used to learn how to walk is the same process it uses to learn how to become one of the best in his sport. This idea that failures don't exist, that failure doesn't exist, is really something that's deeply ingrained in these guys' minds. See how Kobe Bryant explained this from his perspective.
How can I explain this? So let's use happy endings, right? And then we can relate this to failure and why it doesn't exist. Like, you know, everybody talks about why everybody wants a happy ending, right? Now let's go to the reality of it, right? Let's look at a fairy tale story. It's like Snow White. She gets a happy ending, finds the prince, and lives happily ever after. Well, I call bullshit on that because 2 months later, the fact is they had an argument and he's sleeping on the couch. Right? So the point is the story continues. The story continues. So if you fail on Monday, the only way it's a failure on Monday is if you decide to not progress from that, right? So to me, that's why failure doesn't exist. Because, if I fail today, okay, I'm going to learn something from that failure and I'm going to try again on Tuesday. And if I fail, I'm going to try again on Wednesday. So,
And that's it. You don't need to clap for that. Recognition is nice. Recognition is really cool. The guy reached an incredible level, for God's sake. Don't get me wrong. What I'm trying to say is that it's not necessary. It shouldn't be something worthy of an audience clapping, because actually we're the ones who crush ourselves with the way we deal with our failures. There are a ton of phrases out there that are super cliche, like when you say it's just a way to find out how it is. Every failure is a step towards success. It's a step up. People have a bunch of these cliche phrases. They're not lies, but you get it, man. It's something obvious that should be clear to everyone. This should apply to everyone in the world who, for example, had a moment in life when they learned to walk or learned any other kind of thing. Learn to balance on anything, to sit, and to live a life completely different from those around them. The brain went through the same learning process, which is exposing itself to a certain experience relentlessly over and over again, so the brain can store the times when it went wrong and start to adjust until it starts doing it very well and achieving excellence. If during this process the brain is enjoying it and thinking, I'm learning, this isn't how it's done, please expose me to more of this experience so I can keep learning. If you treat this exposure as a bad thing and don't face it head on, saying that you're failing and falling short, you're not giving your brain a chance to learn anything, including playing soccer. However, after so many years treating failure and setbacks the way we've been taught our whole lives, of course it's a bit hard to start seeing it differently out of nowhere all of a sudden, just because I watched some crazy guy's video on the internet. Alright, but there's a little secret that, again, not many people tell you. How do these guys manage to be so unshakable in that mindset? How do these guys have all this resilience? To fail in front of 50,000 people, a bunch of people who see failure in a completely twisted, distorted way, different from how he sees it. They keep criticizing him, tossing out ideas and nonsense on social media, saying stupid things, yet most can't achieve even 5% of what he can. And even so, he stays strong, resilient for the next season, the next game, the next point, the next shot. What's the magic word for all of this? Preparing your own environment. This is the most important thing in your life, and it's what everyone underestimates. And when I say environment, I'm not just talking about keeping your space tidy, your room organized and all that. It's not just your physical environment. It's also your environment, your online environment, the people you choose to follow, the pages you choose to follow, the series you choose to watch, whose documentaries and books are getting into your head. Do you choose to read someone's biography? This playlist here is very targeted for those who dream of becoming a soccer player. If you have this dream, you need to make these guys' lives and mindsets part of your environment. You need to watch documentaries about every athlete, both the ones you like and the ones you don't, because you need to understand how their minds work. And one of the strongest and most influential things in your environment are the people who spend the most time with you. The people who live with you, your family, your closest friends who are always with you. Check out how this piece of the puzzle fits together. With more Papo Atleta.
If you don't see what I do every single day, then I can't pay attention to what you say about me every single day. You don't know when I wake up, how often I train, or what I put my body through. You just see the finished product. I really don't pay attention to that outside noise because my circle is so small and they're going to tell me the truth at all times. When I'm not being myself, those are the individuals that I listen to more than anything, so I don't really pay attention to it. I know who I am, I know how different I am, and that's okay. And I'm accepted by mine.
You get it? It's like this. My circle is so small because, man, it's the people who understand how he deals with this kind of failure, this kind of process. They understand how he manages to withstand external pressure from thousands and thousands and thousands of people criticizing, putting him down and all that. And those people are what matter in shaping the environment around him. And this kind of thinking is something you see in athletes, in a lot of basketball players, tennis players, and soccer players. You will find this kind of mentality in many Olympic athletes from different sports. Because in the end, this thing isn't really about any specific sport or discipline. And this is about how the human brain works, how it responds to environmental stimuli. People who encourage you, people who understand your goal, people who are aligned with your goal. Just by looking at that person's face, you already think, man, this person is aligned with my goal. I look at their face and I think, dude, I need to do whatever it takes to achieve anything I want. And this teaches you lessons not just for your sport, but for anything you want to become in life.
The truth is, whatever game you play in life, sometimes you're going to lose a point, a match, a season, a job. It's a roller coaster with many ups and downs. And it's natural when you're down to doubt yourself and to feel sorry for yourself. And by the way, your opponents have self-doubt too. Don't ever forget that. But negative energy is wasted energy. You want to become a master at overcoming hard moments. That is, to me, the sign of a champion. The best in the world are not the best because they win every point. It's because they know they lose again and again and have learned how to deal with it.
Come on, man. So, do you understand the difference between the guy who sees, for example, Mbappe missing a bunch of goals and still being the top scorer of the World Cup and says, but how many scoring chances does he get? A lot of people would be top scorers. Do you understand that the person who comes and says that Cristiano Ronaldo misses a bunch of penalties and that everyone lets him take them and all that? Exactly, man. Don't be that person. Think about what that guy's philosophy of life is, how he manages to behave, how he sets up his environment to have that. The mentality he has to get where he is, while there are a lot of people who don't have the guts to walk even a tenth of the path and still find a way to criticize the guy. But since you've been following Futebol Maximo here for a while now, I know your mentality is a bit closer to that of an athlete than most people. Thanks. Take care.